Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, June 19th, 2020, the WNW 436. Each week I try to put together a theme and I try to think up the opening line because it kind of sets the stage of everything. And what I kept hearing over and over again is this line: don't resist arrest. The Democrats, the Marxist communists, and we should start calling them what they are, communists. They're not progressive. Of course, that's what the Nazis called themselves. But the communists are basically inferring and telling people to resist arrest. It's okay to resist arrest. It's your duty to resist. No, it's a bad idea. And they're using black people as a prop. And they're telling them the wrong thing. President Trump came out with police reforms that he came out with, more transparency and to eliminate, by and large, eliminate chokeholds. Listen, I think the president missed a major opportunity to say, hey, what about basically teaching and reforming the public for their interactions with the police? Namely, two big things: don't resist arrest. Number one. Let me say it again. Don't resist arrest. This idea, we can't breathe, you're resisting arrest. They keep killing us because you're resisting arrest and you're amping up the situation, and the cops will never lose a street fight, and they'll always raise it every time they see that you see them and you amp up the violence. They're going to amp it up to put you under control. They're going to win. That's what their goal is. That's their police. And also listen to lawful commands. I mean, if you look at this, and there's a couple of stories here I want to talk about. I want you to talk about this. This is the widow of Mr. Brooks, Rayshard Brooks. I mean, this is terrible. Nobody wants to see this. Right? I mean, it should never escalate into that, but the public has a responsibility too. Number one, don't resist arrest. Work that out in court if you think you're being unfairly maligned. I mean, if you get a speeding ticket, you don't get out and beat the cop over the head and say, don't give me a speeding ticket. You get the ticket and you try to get a lawyer and you go to court and see if you can get it pled down or tell the judge why you should have got it. But here's how the newspaper portrays it, and they are doing nothing but inflaming racial tensions, the newspaper, because that's what they want. They're all part of the Marxist communist agenda. And he's got his hands up, everything looks cool. Yeah, that's the picture they use. But yet, a few minutes later, Rayshard Brooks and those two police officers are rolling around on the ground. He is overpowering them both and taking the taser away from one of the officers, running away, and then shooting at the officer as he's running. And lo and behold, the police officer draws his weapon and Mr. Brooks is dead. And this is going to be a very tough. This is not like George Floyd's case. Everybody can agree, choking somebody out and putting their knee on his neck should not happen. Everybody can agree on that. I think we can also agree you should not resist arrest. It's dangerous to resist arrest, not just for the person being arrested, but for the police officers too. The police officer ended up shooting Mr. Brooks, got a concussion. I mean, they got bruises on him. I mean, they had a real fight. This guy overpowered two police officers, Mr. Brooks. We can all agree on that. And nobody is saying that. And listen, people, leaders in the black community, of course, we're only hearing from the Jesse Jacksons of the world, the race baiters, Reverend Al Sharpton. We're not hearing from Candace Owens or Larry Elder or, people like, Burgess Owens, Dr. Ben Carson. We're not hearing from those voices, preachers that are preaching the word, want to really improve the black community and not get $1 an hour and tell everybody that they're a victim. We're not hearing from those voices. I had a lady write me from Raleigh. I'm not going to read her whole letter. Black lady, Raleigh. She said, hey, listen, Roy Cooper, the black people aren't down with what's going on. Just a few weeks ago, they had a protest in Raleigh, and says, the Cooper and the mayor, Governor Cooper and the mayor allowed the mostly white leftist radicals to burn up the place and loot it. But she said, yes, statistically, the numbers of criminality with the black population is disproportionately high compared to our population, but it's not the majority of blacks. Boom. And that's why you're seeing in a recent poll that 40% of black people intend to vote for Donald Trump. They're off the thought plantation for the Democrat communist thought plantation. And the Black Lives Matter, please, folks, go to blacklivesmatter.com, go to the About tab, what we're about or what we stand for, and go down about half the page and see how they don't want daddy in the household. They want to drive daddy out of the house. They don't like a mommy and daddy. They want all that to be transgender. They don't want to have a man and a woman in the household. And that's been a disaster, not having any white or black, not having a daddy in the household. You need a full working family unit because it's tough raising kids, and you need a mommy and you need a daddy. That's in the Bible too, folks. And there's a lot of black people who are Christians that believe in the Bible and believe in Christ. But then she says it's not the majority of blacks. Agreed? You're absolutely right. In addition, the same Democrats who are now using the tired slogan BLM, this woman's from Raleigh, as I said, she's an African-American woman, black woman. They are the same ones who have been in power for decades and have never implemented any policies that will truly address the problems in impoverished black communities. Yes, the real problem is they're poor and they're not trying to do anything to increase their social standing and economic standing. The welfare programs address nothing and only serves to dole out enough money to keep people lazy, ignorant, and voting Democrat, which is their goal. What is happening in the U.S. is the same playbook that globalists used in many countries around the world, most recently including Ukraine, in which the Democrats, as Biden carried Clinton, proceeded to loot and steal from them after destabilizing. Many of the people in these leftist groups have no idea the end game of the globalists doesn't include them. She says other things as well, but she did not give me her name. But I want to read this on the air. She says I should have more black people, and I agree with her to interview. I agree with her. I'm going to work on that. Very good letter. Very good points. It is not all black people. That's the reason why. That's why there's the polls are showing me, wow, 40% of blacks are going to vote for, and these are the ones that are admitting they're going to vote for Trump. I'll tell you something else. I think there's going to be a lot of Democrats vote for Donald Trump. I mean, the Epic Times, if you look at what's going, here's the real pictures you're not seeing. This is just, this is the 11th, week of the 11th, the Epic Times, great newspaper. This is the peaceful protest you're seeing, okay, that they keep telling. They're mostly peaceful. No, they're mostly riotous. They're mostly destructive. Here's some of the other pictures you're not seeing on the front pages of the newspapers or of the network news organizations, which are really more worried about destroying the Federalist and ZeroHedge.com than they are about telling you the truth. They're really more about destroying the competition. I heard Josh Hawley talking about that with the NBC was actually trying to knock out their competitors, which is collusion. Yes, they're so journalists with a big J, right? They can't handle the Federalist or a Zero Hedge or some of these other sites. I think they tried to knock out the Federalist. Told Google to get rid of them. And and this brings me to my next point. This isn't just a black and white issue. It's not about social justice. It's not even about Democrat and Republican. It's about America standing and being and continuing to be America and have a constitution and freedom and liberty and heading over to the New World Order, communist globalists that want to destroy America. That's what the Democrats have gone full on communist. Let's just call them what they are. Enough of this. Well, we're proud progressives. We mean the Nazis called themselves progressives. The National Socialist, Democratic Socialist. Close enough. Those are the real Nazis. This idea that they're going to destabilize the country and crash the economy and all that. And I think that they think they're going to win this way. And listen, I think Donald Trump, people are like, well, Donald Trump's not doing anything. No. No, people are quietly being arrested. These Antifa thugs are quietly being arrested, some of them, and they're going to get pretty stiff jail terms. They're using social media to arrest, to get them on camera, firebombing police cars and Molotov cocktails and other things like the two lawyers up in New York that were on camera. They're done. They had another woman who was recently firebombing a police car, got her on camera. She's going to be arrested. She was arrested. They're quietly arresting the violent people. There was a guest they had on Hannity, and he goes to all these different protests around, including, the Chaz or the CHOP or whatever you want to call it up in Seattle, the autonomous zone. And he says, so I talk to these people about the violence, and they're all down with it. This is not mostly peaceful, it's mostly violent, and the people there, even if they're not committing the violence, they're for it. Burn it out, burn it down. Candidates out there saying, burn it down. This is Marxism, this is communism, that's who we're fighting. I had a friend of mine say, well, we need Andy Griffith. Nice fella. I'm not going to say his name, but nice fella. We need Andy Griffith. We need Andy Griffith, law enforcement. No, we don't. Andy Griffith wasn't, Andy wasn't fighting Marxist communists that wanted to destroy America and turn it to Marxist communism, which is why the global elites want China as the leader. That's what they like. If they killed 40 million people to get their communist, wet dream going on, and, who cares about mere 10,000 people they killed in '89 in Tiananmen Square? Let's build Chevys over there, Mary Barra. You idiot. And Disney, the Hong Kong Disney opened back up. Don't worry about that freedom thing. Don't worry about democracy. Just come see Mickey Mouse and pay $80 a ticket to do so. We're in a heck of a fight, folks. We have to define our enemy. We have to pray. First and foremost, we have to pray. We have to call on our Heavenly Father. We have to pray. That's my friend also said that too. We need to pray. He says you need to say no. Also, just say no. But this whole Chaz, CHOP, the Seattle thing, Donald Trump's just letting that simmer. He's just saying, hey, look what your governor's doing. Look what your mayor's doing. You saw what happened with the mayor of Portland. They were going to build one of those Chaz zones, one of those autonomous zones out in front of his apartment. Boom, he called the cops, broke it up. Bam, just like that. You start having these zones where they're burning up stuff and in front of these neighborhoods where the intelligentsia, the elite liberals, the rich liberals who are using basically black people as a prop because they're burning their stores and homes down, and they're getting and also their cities down and the cores of city, and they don't care whether they have jobs or not, just as long as they get the power transfer they want. And that's to the Marxist agenda. And I want to tell you what the big picture. Hey, folks, you hear me talk about the money. You hear me talk about the debt, the overt and covert debt. The day Donald Trump walks into office, $20 trillion in overt debt. I think it's now $25 trillion. And you have $21 trillion in missing money. And I'm going to have Catherine Austin Fitz to talk about the tens of $1 trillion more they think that are missing. Okay, so we are never going to pay this back. Remember the $85 billion sequester? What a huge fight over that. It's like 2012. They couldn't cut $85 billion out of the budget. We never intended to pay this back. I have people, well, Donald Trump's blowing the budget up. Yeah. Did you ever? When did you think that we were never going to pay this back? At 5 trillion, 10 trillion, 20 trillion, 40 trillion? 100 trillion? When were we never going to pay this back? How about that decision was made a couple of decades ago? So here's the game, folks. They talked about this over in Davos, the economic forum. We need a reset. You had the heir to the throne of England, Queen Elizabeth's son, talking about how we need a reset. And he's over in the Davos Economic Forum. Well, what's the reset going to look like, and who's going to control it over here in America? There's the battle. They want full-on communists. The communism, they want to destroy as many jobs as possible. They want to put as many people out of work. They want to have universal basic income until they can figure out a way to, kill off about, 95% of the residents of the earth, because that's what the Georgia Guidestones say. They want the population to be about 500 million. So we're talking about the real fight here is the people who love freedom and the globalist communists that want to take over the world and basically have everybody, living in a postage-size stamp apartment. Them control all the resources, all the land. They control everything. And the people at the top, hey, that's fantastic. All the celebrities get to be on, continue to be celebrated, and we can still keep, consuming their crappy movies. It doesn't look like the NFL, couldn't happen to a nicer organization, is going to play football this year, according to Dr. Fauci. They're a Marxist organization. They were wrong about taking the knee. Please boycott the NFL. Stop watching them. You're supporting Marxism. You are supporting Marxism. And if you look at the latest attempt, there's this Bolton book. Of course, they're going to try to use this. The book, is Ask China for Election Help. That's a lie. That's, according to people in the room, that's more deep state lies. The official trade deal that Trump cut included China buying more U.S. agricultural products. After all, they do have 1.4 billion people in China. John Bolton is, the president says what John Bolton did is a crime. He's releasing classified information, conversations with the president as the national security advisor. This isn't like, some intern overhearing something, which still you shouldn't be repeating it. But he's reporting things that the president said. And I think some of it is he's just making up. In other parts of it, he's just spitting it so he makes president look as bad as he can because he's part of the deep state swamp. And why? A lot of people have commented that they hated John Bolton. I get that. He's not a nice guy. And here's why Trump had him around, he says. He says, because I'd walk into the room, this is Donald Trump talking, I'd walk into the room and people saw John Bolton and said, oh my gosh, we're going to go to war. And, that was a great, negotiating tool. He was just a bad cop. Trump was a good cop. Been played out many times. That's why Trump said I can handle Bolton. I'll listen to what he has to say. He might make some good points. And then I'll, do the right thing. I mean, Bolton could never, ever admit that invading Iraq was a mistake. Of course it was. But this is the battle, folks. The riots, the attacks, the autonomous zones, the destruction of the police. Listen, I'll tell you guys, I'm telling you, police, don't leave your jobs. There are no jobs out there, folks. There's 44 million unemployed people. You gotta tough this out. Don't leave your job. That's what they want. Don't leave your job. The left wants the police eviscerated. They want to replace you. They want to neuter you. They want to take over the country. Don't leave your job. The majority of Americans, the majority of African Americans, the majority of all Americans support the police. We want the police. Know that. This is a psyop, as I've said in the past. They want you to think they're the majority. They want you to think you cannot fight back. They want you to think you're helpless. They want you to think we'll just give in because this is the growing trend and it's the majority. That's a lie, lie, lie. It's a psyop. It's a desperate psyop. Do you think this is an election winner burning out the center of Minneapolis, the autonomous zone in Seattle, the exploding crime rates in democratically controlled cities? Are they going to be able to blame that on the president? I don't think so. This is a monster psyop. This is a full-on a Marxist playbook in real life. Brown shirt Nazi tactics to keep people quiet. Don't you dare say anything. You be fearful. You'll lose your job. We'll be thugs and burn your house down. Nazis. That's what Nazis did. That's the Democrats. That's the Marxists. That's the progressive Nazis. This is from Jonathan Turley, Vermont principal on leave for not agreeing with Black Lives Matter. And I tell you, please, if you have any doubt about this, go to blacklivesmatter.com, go to the About section. What we stand for, go down about halfway down in the page. They don't want daddy in the household. They want to remove the mommy and daddy patriarchal family unit. That's what they say. They want it to be trans and trans. So, Vermont principal on leave for not agreeing with Black Lives Matter. Superintendent David Baker assured the public, oh, thank you, David. This is the real problem with the public schools. Assured the public that they would be working on a mutually agreed upon severance package. You can't have anybody thinking opposite of what the communists think of. This case magnifies concerns over the free speech rights of teachers on social media or other or in their private lives. And he also, Jonathan Turley, who is a legal expert, the only legal expert and a liberal that stuck up for Trump in the impeachment and said how wrong it was, that it was a sham impeachment, basically. He stated cases in University of Oregon, Rutgers, University of California, Boston University, and of course, what they say is hate speech. And what it really is just speech they hate. They're not tolerant. It's one way only, just like the Nazis, the re-education camps. Just only one thought, only we're right and everybody else is wrong. No democracy, and the people at the top get everything. Wow, that's communism, folks. And if you think that communism is going to make the lives of the 98%, the 95%, the people on the bottom like me and you and other people, if you think communism is going to make your life better, forget it. I mean, the Chinese killed 40 million people to get to their communist wet dream. The little revolt at Tiananmen Square, what's another 10,000 people? And what did corporate America do? Let's build Chevys there. This is about the reset. The big picture is who's going to be in charge of the reset. Let me tell you something. I think Donald Trump's trying to hold off this reset until after the election. I think this whole thing with what the Democrats are doing and the violence and the mobs and the burning stuff down is going to backfire, and already has backfired hugely. I think Democrats, and not all Democrats, some people say, well, Democrats are going to vote. I was at the San Francisco bridge, and they the bridge going into San Francisco. What is that? The big hanging bridge, the San Francisco bridge, and they blocked traffic, and people got out of their cars and cheered. Not all Democrats are getting out of their cars and cheer. You don't have to have all Democrats. 10, 15, 20%, 40% of blacks voting for Donald Trump, when in the past Republicans might get 5 or 6 or 7%. Maybe. They're worried, and they're desperate, and they're going to cheat, and they're going to be violent, and they're going to kill people, and they already did that, and they're going to cause much property damage, and they don't care how many people are unemployed. They're going to have hoaxes like the overreaction to the COVID thing. They're going to continue with that. Look at my crazy governor, and of course the liberal left-wing News and Record, the news in fish wrap, okay, that they don't apologize for everything, for anything. Like, they told us that HCQ hydroxychloroquine is dangerous. And here, look at this Lancet study. You think they did a retraction after Lancet said, oh my gosh, we have totally fraudulent, fictitious data, and we walk all that back, and we don't believe we retract our report. Did they retract it in this fish wrap? No. Here we are again. Never do anything to baby killer Cooper. You never say anything bad about him. And here he is, 983 new corona cases reported in North Carolina. Look at the numbers, folks. Now the North Carolina's total is 45,000 with 1,100 deaths. Let me put that in perspective for you. 1,100 deaths. Let's see. There's 10.5 million people in North Carolina. 1,100 deaths. I'm sorry. People shouldn't die, but nobody wants that. But that is 0.0078 of the population, way less than the seasonal flu. Of course, baby killer Cooper drove the Republican National Convention away from Charlotte. He kiboshed that deal. That was hundreds of millions of dollars, according to the president, President Trump. They lost hundreds of millions of dollars. The airfare, the Uber, the taxis, the meals, the entertainment. They poof. After this COVID thing, he's going to continue to keep everything shut down. I mean, Donald Trump is playing this like, okay, you want your Democrat control, you want your Democrat policies, we're going to let them play out in the cities. Just let them play out. Bad day in the Supreme Court, folks. Well, hold on, before we go on to that, and I just want to show this little story. I can't believe it made it in the News and Record, so I'll give him some credit. An NC lawmaker, protesters are ignorant thugs and vermin. This guy's up for re-election. He's up for a sixth term. Hold on, let's get here. Pittman. That's right. And he talks about how, this is Larry Pittman, talks about how they're being, they're domestic terrorists. Over here. There we go. They're domestic terrorists. Ignorant thugs, criminals, domestic terrorists. Busting up cities like Charlotte and Raleigh and Greensboro and causing people not to want to come down there. I mean, Greensboro has this, this gnarly, crackly, crunchy, nightclubs and restaurants and the Civil Rights Museum and, where the term sit-in was put into place. And nobody's going down there. They're scared. Thank you, Democrats. Thank you. Our mayor said, oh, she hears the protesters. She hears the violent thugs. Does she understand what happens to your tax base when you bust out all the windows of all the businesses downtown? I mean, these people are like, I believe in unicorns. Therefore, they exist. Terrible day in the Supreme Court. Tells you why this election's so important. I mean, you thought we had a conservative Supreme Court? No, we don't. This is Reason, and they had the best headline, I thought. Blue Monday at the court. Conservatives went 0-4, now 0-5 with the DACA ruling. The DACA ruling was really a workaround. That happened after the 4 in a row cases decided by the Supreme Court. I'll get back to that in a minute. But DACA was basically, it was, here, let me read my notes here. It, according to Chief Justice Roberts, we did not decide DACA on the rescission, which is the cancellation, or the policies of it because they know it's totally illegal. A lower court says it's totally illegal. The president doesn't have the power to do it. They knew that. But it did not adequately justify, which is a workaround, did not consider the hardship for illegals or adequately justify the reason, which is a technicality, to keep it going. Didn't adequately justify, or they didn't, according to Roberts, didn't consider hardship for illegals, really. Just a workaround. And then you have the other cases. I mean, the court denied review of 10 Second Amendment cases, so those all stand. The court denied review of the President Trump's challenge of California sanctuary laws, so that's all stands. They didn't do anything with a Texas death penalty case, and the court decided Bostic, Bostic was in Georgia, where this person Bostic sued and said, hey, listen, I'm a transgender and I should have rights like other people. And they said, no, you shouldn't have rights like other people. But yet that was the big case, right? So you had Neil Gorsuch and John Roberts side with the ultra left-wing liberals in the court, 6-3 decision. So basically they created law out of whole cloth. No DNA, no science, no X and Y chromosome, just I think I'm a woman, therefore I'm a transsexual, and therefore I have to be protected, under law for discrimination. That should be legislated. Those things should be legislated. Laws shouldn't be made from the bench, just like gay marriage. They tried that over and over again, tried to get gay marriage as a law on the books in California. It could never get past 60-40. People in California didn't want gay marriage. Which marriage is a state-by-state, entity, marriage. It's just other states acknowledge, marriages in other states. So what the Supreme Court justices did with gay marriage was make it a national law. It should have been, that should have made it through legislation in the House and the Senate. Same thing with this whole carving out an exemption for transsexuals. So, I mean, there's going to be huge lawsuits started over this. And is there exemption for Christians? Can Christians say, I don't want to decorate the cake of transsexuals. I don't want to be, I don't want to have to be forced to acknowledge and forced to run my life because of, in a way that legitimizes, transsexuals. It's wrong in the Bible. Are they going to get an exemption for that? We'll see. Not with this court. I don't see how that's going to happen. This is why Donald Trump needs to put many more people, on the Supreme Court. Just the huge, it's a 5-0 loss, with the Supreme Court. So much for there being a, some sort of a court that is conservative, because it's clearly not. It's clearly not. They just made it up. I mean, somebody can say, hey, I'm a guy, I've got male genitalia and male DNA and male X and Y chromosomes and the whole setup that makes me a male, but I'm a woman. I'm Bradley Manning or I'm Caitlyn Jenner. Hey, listen, if Bradley Manning wants to call himself, Martha or whatever, if Bruce Jenner wants to call himself Caitlyn, that's fine with me. I don't care. Don't expect me to play along. Don't force me to play along. And that's basically what this law may end up doing, is forcing Christians to play along. But that's the whole goal of the Marxists, as what Kevin Shipp came on and said, the three C's. They want to destroy the Constitution, our culture, and Christianity. They want to attack Christ. They want to attack the Bible. You can't believe things in the Bible. Oh my gosh, you Lodite. You believe things in the Bible? Oh my gosh. You believe in Christ? I mean, what did Christ say? Christ, they hated me and they will hate you. And can you see this happening now? It's awful. But listen, don't give up. Don't give up. Keep praying. They want you to be afraid. Don't be afraid. They want you to think they're a majority. They're not. And speak out. And that's the other thing. I want to get to this before I get to the economic section. I mean, hey, listen, my friend, I also talked about, he says, let me tell you what the answer is. The answer is churches need to speak out. And maybe they need to not worry about the 501c3 status. The tax exempt status. Hey, preachers, maybe you should just start paying taxes and start really guiding people the correct way and telling the government, sure, I'll pay taxes. I'll pay whatever, 33% or 28% or whatever. I'll take my expenses and, we'll just start paying taxes. Why don't churches just start paying taxes? Why are they so afraid? Why are they not preaching out of the Bible? Why are they not telling you that certain things are wrong? Gay marriage is wrong. In the Bible, it says it's wrong. A man dressing up like a woman and vice versa. The Bible clearly says that's wrong, shouldn't do it. Why can't Christians just be Christians? That doesn't say persecute gays or transsexuals. I'm not for that. But why in the heck don't the churches come out and say, hey, listen, the idea, and this is over and over again, the myth that there is racially motivated police brutality, and all the statistics say that's a lie. That's a total lie. It ain't happening. It's just what they're using to try to overthrow the country and get people to riot and destroy the economy and destroy cities and try to destroy Donald Trump and get him kicked out of office. That's what this is about. So the reset can happen in the New World Order, globalist, Marxist way, where you get nothing and just a few at the top get everything. That's what we're fighting over, the reset. That's why they're gutting all these jobs. That's why they're coming up with universal basic income. They don't want Trump to be the guy deciding what's reset and how it's reset here in America, because America is, a big chunk of the global economy. And as America goes, the rest of the world goes. They know this. And we are under attack from foreign governments. China is basically doing all kinds of things. You can find out what China is doing to us in the Epoch Times. There are all kinds of stories about that. They're one of the few newspapers that covers it. We have all kinds of governments around the world coming after us. I mean, one of the guy, Raz from Chaz, he's being supported by, reportedly, by the country of Dubai, Middle Eastern country. I think it's Dubai. Why? We have to understand our enemy. And our number one enemy is, Satan. He's our enemy. The globalist, communist, Marxist, and please, let's just call the Democrats what they are, the communists. The New World Order globalists, which are communists. They hate God. They hate Jesus. That's our enemy. They don't want reform. They want to take over. They want to take over. That's what this is about. They want to be in charge of the reset in your life and your property and your house and where you live and what you do and how much you make and how much you can have. And that's what they're, had one Black Lives Matter local person say, white people should give up their houses. They're anti-Semitic, Black Lives Matter. They are racist. You can't, if you say all lives matter, they'll club you in the head. And they're violent. Just like Antifa, violent. A little bit about the economy. Listen, I don't want to go on and on about it because I'm already pretty long in the truth here, but the V-shaped recovery, I want you guys to be on guard. And I want you to keep this in mind. If you're turning down a job, don't. Police, I want to tell you again, don't quit. There aren't any jobs out there. Don't quit. Tough it out. Hang in there. We need you on the beat. The majority, the vast majority, including blacks, support the police. Don't fall for this bait. Don't quit. Here's the myth of the V-shaped recovery. So this is Mike Shedlock, and he was talking about, you look at industrial production, manufacturing, industrial production, durable goods manufacturing, the whole deal. And you can see what went on here. I mean, you have this, the shutdown, boom. Look how much it's come back. Pretty shallow little V's. That's what's going on, folks. There are going to be millions of jobs that get lost that are never going to come back. This is Mike Shedlock. I've had him on as a guest. I should have him on again. He's a smart guy. That's his handiwork, showing you how bad it is. Police, law enforcement, hang in there. There are no jobs out there. Hang in there. Don't lose your job. Don't walk off your job. And then we have this. No V here either. And this is also 617. Housing starts ugly disappointment. Here's what happened. Bam, in the COVID crisis. And then you have just this little bitty shallow V, a little bitty shallow V here. And we're talking about new privately owned housing units started by structure, and also private housing authorized by building permits. That's the red and the blue. You know, the rebound is slight. So if you get offered a job, jockey for one, get it. Secure yourself employment, even if you're getting unemployment. Get what jobs are out there. One study said that there's going to be I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again, 4.5 people jockeying for every single job out there. And trying to start a new business, you need capital. There's going to be dang little capital involved or available for little people, for small businesses. So I want you to understand, don't think that this unemployment is going to go on forever. I mean, Mitch McConnell's saying this is the last unemployment. It's going to get us through the election. And I say in 2021, if not before, I hope not before, Donald Trump wants to do this in 2021. And it's not going to be to the good of the globalists. That's not. They're going to lose a lot of money. They're going to lose a lot of power. America, he's not here to save your pension or your 401k plan, although he may do some of that. Donald Trump is here to save the republic. He's here to save America. And we can all do our part by speaking out. People are afraid to speak out. What did Nigel Farage say recently? It was an article on Breitbart.com saying, I've never in my life seen so many people afraid to speak out. Don't be afraid to speak out. I don't want you to do violent things. I don't want you to be violent. But I do want you to speak out. I will tell you that I was at a local, if you're just taking a poll, driving around, just trying to getting some anecdotal information. Every gun store I went to 4 gun stores in the Greensboro area. They were a line of traffic in and out, and people not shopping. People, I'll take that one right there. Yeah, I take it. Okay, that's good. Yeah, can I have a box of shells too? Yeah, thanks. Okay, I mean they were getting background checks approved, boom, out the door. Buying weapons, most of them, at least half of them. Steady flow of people, every color, every sex, coming in looking for firearms. Academy Sporting Goods, I called over there and said, I'm just seeing what you got over there. Do you have any shotguns? Nope, not a single one. No shotguns, which is the home defense weapon of choice. It just shows you where people's minds are. I have another friend of mine that has people work at the local UPS. I probably shouldn't say this, but he says, there's about 2 trucks a day going out and making ammunition deliveries to people in the area. 2 trucks a day. We're headed for trouble, folks. Listen, I hope the economy comes back a lot stronger than what we've seen so far. I'm hoping that we won't have as many people unemployed in the future as I think we're going to have. But this pandemic, this overreaction to this crisis. And the Democrats don't care if they destroy your businesses, your jobs, your livelihoods. They don't care. They don't care if you die. They don't care if the communists. Well, I'm breaking my own rule. The communists don't care if they burn up your cities, smash out your windows. Basically, egg on looting, support looting, support violence, support busting out windows. It's not mostly peaceful. It's mostly violent, and mostly of the protesters support the violence. They are trying to destabilize America. They want to blow Donald Trump out of office. They want Sleepy Joe, Basement Joe, my wife calls him Basement Joe, to take over. And then, of course, he'll be in office about a couple of months. And then the vice president will be the real president. And then they want to exact their full-on communism, destroy the Constitution, Christians, the whole thing. Full on. So, folks, you need to pray. You need to speak up. You preachers, maybe you shouldn't accept the 501c3. Maybe you need to start paying taxes and speaking up for the Lord. Hey, Christ didn't go out there and preach and go to Pontius Pilate or the Romans and say, hey, well, I need to have a tax exemption. Christ didn't do that. He preached at his own peril, and of course, he died for our sins. He paid the ultimate price. That was painful. He was in the body of a human Son of God. He felt every lash. He felt every nail. He felt every spear chunk. He felt it all. He didn't ask for a tax exemption. Maybe you preachers out there ought to worry more about preaching and less about your tax exemption. Maybe you should just plan on paying some taxes. Don't be afraid. That's what they want. They want you fearful. Evil wants you fearful. And don't be afraid to speak out. I'm not telling you about getting into fights or having violence or anything. Don't be afraid to speak out and speak your mind. Don't sit there and be silent. Why do they get all the say? The crazy minority left. Thank you very much for your comments and your donations. Boy, I went long. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for your comments and your donations. That helps us out. I'm demonetized. I finally quit even writing about it. I'm demonetized almost every video for at least 10, 12, 15 hours. Just enough to take a slice of my income. But I don't care. You don't have to give me anything either. I don't care. Thank you for your donations. That does help us out. And thank you for your comments. And here's the line would get me fired on network television. Fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. Fear not. God the Father and the Son, Jesus Christ, are firmly in control.